Single mom revealed her last three for bread, then the CEO's unexpected gesture changed everything. Jessica stood nervously in line at the corner grocery store, her heart pounding. In her pocket, 3 crumpled dollar bills felt like a weight pressing down on her. She could hear her kids' laughter echoing in her mind, Mia and Tyler, waiting at home, blissfully unaware that dinner would be just a loaf of bread tonight. The fluorescent lights flickered above, casting a harsh glow on a scene that felt like a spotlight on her desperation. Other shoppers glanced her way, their sympathetic gazes a mix of understanding and pity. Each one probably saw a reflection of their struggles and her shame. Meanwhile, across the bustling streets of Chicago, Michael, a high-powered CEO, sipped from his designer coffee cup, unaware of the world just a few blocks away. His life was polished, filled with deals and meetings, but the worries of everyday life felt a million miles away from him. He couldn't even imagine the pressure of choosing between bills and groceries. Jessica finally reached the counter, the cashier's polite smile only deepening the pit in her stomach. She hesitated, counting her last $3, each one representing hard labor, sacrifice, and love for her children. The bread stood before her, its bright packaging somehow mocking her circumstances. Her brow furrowed as she forced a tight grin, trying to mask the emotion clawing at her throat. Just before she could speak, a bystander took a snapshot of her grim moment, capturing the rawness of the struggle. A single mother standing in line with her last few coins. That moment ignited a storm online. The photo went viral. People shared it, adding their thoughts, their sympathy and their outrage over the stark economic divide. Suddenly, Jessica was thrust into the limelight. Comments flooded in, people sharing their own fights against poverty, bridging lives divided by wealth. It even reached Michael's desk. His world tilted as he read about Jessica's fight for dignity and hope. It tugged at something deep inside him, something he thought he lost amid a flourishing career. He wasted no time reaching out to her with an offer of financial help, a lifeline extended across the chasm of their lives. But Jessica's gut told her to refuse. She didn't want charity. She wanted to stand tall for Mia and Tyler, to nourish them with her hard work, not another person's pity. Yet here she was, weighing her integrity against the crushing reality of survival. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she contemplated Michael's offer, her thoughts spun in chaotic circles. What if she could use this help to spark change in her community? To create programs, to support others just like her? What if accepting assistance could turn into empowerment, not just for herself, but for so many around her? The crossroads of her life lay bare in front of her. Could she bend a little and still retain her dignity? And would Michael understand that true change can't be handed down like a check? His world and hers collided. Both stood on the edge, a possible transformation teetering in the air. Jessica had never felt this vulnerable, yet as hope flickered, it brought with it the urgent question, what path would she choose, and how far would Michael go to truly connect with her struggle? Jessica stood frozen for a moment in the grocery store, wrestling with the gravity of the situation. The weight of Michael's offer felt both liberating and suffocating. It was easy for someone like him to extend a helping hand. But what would that mean for her? She took a deep breath, her mind racing. Each dollar played a distinct tune in her head, one for all the late nights she'd spent working, one for the bills that waited silently on the table, and one for the dreams she held for Mia and Tyler. Would accepting his help mean abandoning those dreams of independence? Back in his office, Michael clicked away on his keyboard, frustration mounting as he tried to refocus. The image of Jessica kept resurfacing, but now, he could see her not just as a needful face in a tough situation. There was anger there, strength bubbling just beneath her surface. Did he understand her struggle? He couldn't just swoop in and be a white knight for someone he didn't fully know. Yet, the image of her waiting in line nod at him, her story had already gathered attention, and with it, an opportunity to initiate change. Scrolling through the comments online, he absorbed the stories of countless families facing similar battles, their lives intertwined with Jessica's in ways he never expected. He could help Jessica, yes, but what if he could help many? What if, instead of a single act of charity, he used the platform that came from his position to spark a movement? Meanwhile, Jessica's phone buzzed incessantly with notifications from the post about her. People shared their gratitude and connection with her reality, offering encouragement, support, or simply reiterating the struggles they faced. A few even shared links to community programs that could assist families. A small flicker of hope ignited in her chest. Maybe this was something bigger. With each passing moment, her resolve solidified. She wouldn't simply accept help, she would collaborate on a vision. Stories needed to be told, and Jessica could be the person to amplify those voices. Yet, to take that leap required a conversation with Michael. Hers might be the story that drives wealth toward addressing the real issues faced by families like hers. Could she find a way to blend his resources with her vision? Charging forward into the unknown, she couldn't shake the lingering doubt. Would he be open to listening, or would he just see a charity case? Determined, she finally took a seat on her cluttered couch. The walls were thin, she could hear Mia and Tyler bickering over a toy. Their laughter, punctuated with their small arguments, brought a smile to her face, but the tension in her belly returned. She firmly grasped her phone, hovering over the message to Michael, her heart racing. What if she turned this moment into something greater than both of them anticipated? As the words began to form in her mind, the children's voices faded into the background, replaced by a fierce resolve. "Dear Michael," she typed, "I appreciate your offer. But what about exploring a partnership instead of charity?" Would he understand her? Would he actually listen? The send button hovered before her like a precipice, and she took a deep breath, braced for the reaction. Partnership implied trust, vulnerability, and a new journey, but it could also lead to profound change. Just as she pressed send, her phone buzzed with a text from Michael. "I'd like to meet and discuss ideas, Jessica." Her pulse quickened. The stage was set for something unforeseen. What would she say? How could she unite their worlds? With the weight of possibility pressing down, and hope radiating out, she leaned into the unknown, ready for their lives to intertwine in ways neither could foresee. What impact would their meeting have, and would they find a common ground powerful enough to spark change? Jessica stared at her phone, Michael's message lighting up the screen like a beacon. A mix of excitement and fear flooded her system. She was no longer just a woman in need, she was stepping into a role she had barely dared to dream of: a leader, an advocate. The weight of the upcoming meeting settled on her shoulders, but for the first time, it felt like a mantle she might actually wear. After pacing the small living room for what felt like an eternity, she glanced at the clock. The hour was nearing, and Mia and Tyler, sensing their mother's anxiety, had gone silent, their giggles replaced by quiet whispers as they played. It struck her how much she wanted to be a source of strength for them, to transform this anxiety into something powerful. What would Michael want to discuss? Would he understand her vision, or would he stick to the charity angle? She shuffled through various scenarios in her mind, each one more daunting than the last. But amid all the doubt, a spark of hope simmered. Mia peeked her head around the corner, her curls bouncing, revealing her wide eyes. "Mommy, are you okay?" Jessica knelt down to Mia's eye level, mustering a smile. "Absolutely, sweetheart. I'm just thinking about something important." Tyler joined them, a toy truck in hand. "Is it about the food?" She chuckled lightly, ruffling his hair. "Sort of, buddy. But it's also about making things better for all of us." As she spoke, a wave of determination washed over her. If they could see the fight in her, perhaps it would instill something in them, too. She was not just advocating for herself but for her children and countless others who fought battles unseen. The meeting place was a cozy little cafe downtown with warm lighting and the rich aroma of fresh coffee. Jessica arrived early, her hands trembling slightly as she clutched the menu like a lifeline. The chatter around her felt distant, as if she were encased in a bubble. She scanned the room, her heart racing. What would happen next? Michael walked in, casually scanning the cafe until his eyes landed on her. His smile was genuine, disarming even. She stood to greet him and noted the contrast between their world, she in her worn jeans, and he in a crisp button-up. "Hey, Jessica." He motioned for them to sit. "Thanks for meeting me." Jessica took a breath, feeling the enormity of the moment. "Thank you for asking to meet. I wanted to share some ideas about how we could work together." They exchanged stories over coffee, with Jessica explaining the essence of her vision, the need for real change that rippled through communities. Michael listened, asking questions and probing deeper. Her heart swelled with each word she spilled, feeling more empowered, realizing her voice mattered. But then, suddenly, doubt crept back in. What if he truly get it? What if his world was so far removed from hers that he simply viewed her as an idea rather than a person? "So, what do you think?" she said, her voice wavering slightly. Michael leaned back, his expression unreadable. "It's a powerful vision, Jessica. But I've got to be honest. It's a big leap, and there are risks." The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. What were the risks he saw? They were at a crossroads, and the fright of the unknown loomed large. As her pulse quickened, she had to wonder, would he be willing to step into the fray beside her, or would this be the moment where hope slipped through her fingers like sand? Just as she contemplated how to respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, then looked back at her, a flicker of urgency in his eyes. "I need to take this, can you hold on for just a minute?" As he stepped away, the cafe buzzed around her, sunlight streaming through the window, illuminating her thoughts. Was there a way to convince him of the transformative power they could unleash together? The uncertainty threatened to overshadow her resolve, tightening her chest. When Michael returned, his expression was different. "Something just came up," he said, his tone serious. "I need to discuss this with my team. But can we meet again tomorrow?" Jessica felt her heart sink for a moment, but then she nodded. "Absolutely." Yet deep inside, unease brewed. What had he learned in that brief phone call? As she watched Michael leave, her thoughts raced. Tomorrow could shift everything. What exactly lay in store? Would they forge a path together or lose this opportunity forever? The sun had barely risen the next morning when Jessica's alarm pierced the quiet of her home. As she groggily reached for her phone, the events of yesterday came rushing back. She rubbed her eyes and took a deep breath, willing herself to embrace the challenge ahead. In the kitchen, Mia and Tyler sat coloring at the table, the bright pigments of crayons strewn about like their dreams, innocent and vibrant. Jessica poured 2 bowls of cereal, distracted by the knot in her stomach that tightened with every passing second. The uncertainty from Michael's last words lingered in her mind, prickling at her determination. What had come up that could change everything? "Mommy, can we draw superheroes?" Tyler asked, eyes shining. "Of course, buddy. But first, let us eat." Their laughter filled the air, a gentle reminder that despite her worries, she had a responsibility to radiate positivity. Jessica admired how carefree they were, leading her to wonder if they could ever truly understand the challenges she faced. But she didn't want them to carry that weight. She wanted to be their strength, their rock, and their example. After breakfast, as she finished packing lunch for school, her phone buzzed again, a message from Michael, simple and direct. "Can we meet at noon?" Panic fluttered in her chest. Was he going to back out? She quickly texted back. "Yes, absolutely. See you there." As the morning passed, Jessica's worries manifested in thoughts that looped like a record. Was she enough? Did she have what it took to convince him that they could change lives together? She gathered her courage, dressed in her favorite blouse, something to make her feel strong, and slipped on her boots, feeling an embodiment of resilience awaken in her. The cafe was buzzing when she arrived. Each table was filled with chatter, the sound mingling with the aroma of fresh pastries. Jessica chose a seat toward the back, hoping the corner would afford her a moment of quiet to collect her thoughts. She opened her notebook, scribbling down ideas, preparing her case like an attorney fighting for justice. Minutes felt like hours as she waited. Just when self-doubt started to creep in, Michael appeared, his frame towering in the doorway. He looked around, his gaze finally landing on her, and he smiled. "Thank you for coming, Jessica," he said, sliding into the seat opposite her. "Of course," she replied, her heart thudding loud in her ears. She took a deep breath, launching into her thoughts, weaving her passion into her words like a tapestry. "I know it's a big leap, but I've seen what this can do. How we can make a tangible difference." As she spoke, she noticed Michael's eyes widening. Was he getting it? The corner of his mouth curled slightly as he nodded. "I see your drive, Jessica. It's inspiring." But the urgency in his voice hinted that the stakes were about to get even higher. But just as he began to elaborate, his phone rang again. Jessica's heart dropped. She could feel the seconds ticking by, and she feared the conversation would slip away like grains of sand. Michael excused himself, stepping outside. Every minute felt like a weight on her chest, the conviction she'd built trembling under the pressure of the unknown. Outside, she could see him through the window, shoulder tense as he gestured animatedly. What could possibly be so urgent? Then, to her shock, she saw him pull out a notepad and start jotting things down from what seemed like a list. Before she could overthink it, he returned, his expression a mix of determination and excitement. "Jessica, I think we can make this work. I have a team that believes in social change. But there's a hurdle we need to clear." Hurdles. They buzzed around her like pesky flies, wanting to distract her. "What do we need to do?" she asked, urgency gripping her. "Funding. We need to discuss the financial side and how we can attract sponsors." Jessica felt her pulse quicken. "Sponsors? Like business sponsors?" "Exactly. But they all want to see results. And that means we have to prepare a presentation really convince them we mean business." The stakes were rising, and every word felt heavier. Hope and fear battled inside of her. Could this actually be her way to not only advocate but make a real impact? "I'm ready for whatever comes next," she said, her voice steady. "Let us do this." Michael nodded, the spark in his eyes reflecting a partnership that could change everything. But as they began discussing plans, a sudden thought flashed through her mind: would she really be able to take on such a monumental task? Just then, a voice inside her crept up, echoing doubts of the past, the whisper of self-doubt growing louder. Would she slip away from this, or would this actually be the catalyst she had been craving? Yet, without any time for reflection, Michael's phone buzzed again. This time, his face paled, and with a furrowed brow, he stepped outside once more, leaving her hanging in suspense. What was this new development? Could it threaten everything they had just built? Jessica held her breath as she anxiously waited, her heart racing. Would this be the moment everything fell apart? Or could it lead to something even greater? The seconds dragged out like hours as Jessica sat at the cafe table, her mind racing with anxious thoughts. She glanced at her phone, willing it to buzz with a reassuring message. Instead, all she felt was the weight of uncertainty pressing against her chest. What could possibly be so dire that it required Michael's immediate attention again? She took a sip of her now cold coffee, the bitterness reminding her of how tangled her emotions had become. All her fears and dreams for change swirled together, creating a storm in her heart. Would they really make a difference? What if they didn't find the funding? The doubts crept in like shadows, threatening to smother her hope. Just as she started to lose herself in those dark thoughts, Michael returned, his face a mix of frustration and determination. "I'm sorry about that," he said, pulling out the chair more forcefully than before. "But we need to talk right now about a possible meeting with someone who can fund our vision." "Who?" Jessica asked, both curious and apprehensive. "A venture capitalist who has been involved in social initiatives before." "He has quite a big deal," Michael answered, his eyes brightening for a brief moment. "But he wants to see numbers, a solid plan. Right now. If we can impress him, it could open doors we haven't even imagined." Her heart began to race again. Getting a meeting with someone like that seemed like a huge leap forward, but it also meant they had to work fast. "When?" she asked, her voice cracking slightly. "He is free later today. We need to put together a presentation that shows our mission, our goals, and how we plan to measure our success. Jessica felt a jolt of panic. Today? But I don't have enough time to prepare anything substantial. Michael leaned closer, his tone encouraging yet firm. We can do this together. Let us brainstorm. I know you have so many great ideas. We can craft a story that will resonate. You just need to share your heart. He was right. This was about more than just numbers, it was about the impact they could make on lives. But how to translate that into a presentation? Okay, she said, inhaling deeply. What do you need from me? Tell me what your vision is. We'll outline it, figure out how to present it convincingly. As they worked, Jessica poured out everything she had: dreams of community engagement, empowerment programs, the desire to make sure no child felt alone. With each word, her passion rekindled. They scribbled ideas on napkins, traded concepts back and forth, and soon a structure emerged that felt solid. But as they dove deeper, doubt loomed over her like a storm cloud. What if he doesn't believe us? She muttered, biting her lip. Michael met her gaze. It's our passion that will speak volumes. If we believe in it, he will feel that energy. Their discussion was interrupted as Michael's phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up with a message that made his expression shift from hopeful to anxious. I need to take this, he said, standing up just as quickly as he had moments ago. As he stepped outside, Jessica felt that twist in her stomach again. Each second apart seemed to stretch on endlessly. She looked around, lost in thought, the noise of the cafe fading into the background. With every moment that passed, her ambition clashed with her worry. What if she was pushing too hard, too fast? What if she failed? The risks felt overwhelming, yet she could see her children's smiling faces. Their laughter echoed in her mind, grounding her, reminding her of why she was doing this. Then Michael returned, his expression alarmed, eyes wide. We need to go, he said urgently, the depth of his tone striking fear into her. Go where? What happened? Jessica asked, her heart racing anew. Something just came up with the investor. It seems they're considering a completely different project. We have to act fast before our chance slips away. Her heart sank. Was this the end before it even began? Would her chances of making a real impact disappear like smoke? Her hands trembled as she looked at him, a new surge of determination rising within her. Let us do it. We can't let this be the end. But as they rushed to gather their things, a question gnawed at her: how far was she willing to go? Could she stand resolute and push against the tide of doubt? Together, they made for the door, but as Jessica stepped outside, the world suddenly felt heavy. Would this truly be the opportunity that defined everything, or would past failures catch up to her once more? The air outside was thick with urgency as Michael led Jessica down the bustling street, the sounds of the city wrapping around them like a whirlwind. Her mind raced faster than her feet, each step echoing doubts that clawed at her. What exactly did the investor say? She asked, trying to keep pace. Michael hesitated, glancing at Jessica. Yes, looking for something innovative, something that can capture attention instantly. A project that stands out. A knot twisted in her stomach. What did that mean for them? She didn't have time to overthink as they turned corners, and her focus sharpened. So, we need to find a way to make our project pop? Exactly. We need a hook that he can't ignore. Something fresh and exciting. As they reached a small, modern building, Jessica's heart thumped louder. There it was, the chance. She clutched her bag tightly, reminding herself of the countless nights dreaming of this moment. We've come this far, I can't let this slip. They entered the lobby, the cool air washing over them. Michael checked in at the front desk. We're here to see Mr. Calloway, he stated, fixing on his serious business demeanor. While waiting, Jessica's mind spun with images of the children she wanted to help. Each child's smile fueled her determination. Their laughter filled her head, but realization hit her: each of those children had dreams too. I can't let them down, she whispered to herself. Finally, they were ushered into a sleek conference room. The walls were glass, overlooking the cityscape, but she didn't look. She focused on the large table where a tall man sat, reviewing papers. Mr. Calloway looked up as they walked in, his expression unreadable. "Good afternoon," Michael said confidently, extending a hand. "This is Jessica." "Nice to meet you both," Mr. Calloway said, shaking their hands with a firm grip. "I understand you have a project that needs funding?" Jessica took a deep breath, about to lay out the entire vision, but her voice faltered. She searched for the right words, and in that vulnerable moment, fear twisted inside her. "Yes, we do." But then the sound of laughter slipped into her thoughts, the joy of her children, their potential echoing in her mind. Jessica squared her shoulders and pushed the doubts away. "We want to create a community center that not only provides resources but also empowers children. We want it to be a place where ideas can flourish and lives can change." She started sharing her ideas, energy flowing through her words. Her heart quickened with each slide of the presentation, her passion igniting the atmosphere. Those stifling doubts began to dissipate as she caught Michael's encouraging nods. But Mr. Calloway listened intently, eyes narrowing slightly. He shifted in his seat. "Tell me more about how you plan to measure success." Jessica didn't hesitate. She dove deeper, sharing their plans for engagement programs, mentorship, and feedback loops to ensure they were meeting the community's needs. Yet with each question, Jessica felt the weight of the moment. Would it be enough? Was it what he was looking for? She glanced at Michael. His expression was reassuring but tinged with concern. Then came the moment of silence. Mr. Calloway leaned back, folding his arms, considering. The tension in the room thickened, and she thought of all those risks, the devastating what-ifs creeping back into her mind. Finally, he raised an eyebrow. "You seem passionate, I'll give you that." Jessica's heart pounded. Was that good? Was he impressed? She needed to know. "We believe in this project, in these kids. It's not just a business for us, it's personal." As Mr. Calloway glanced out the window, Jessica thought of how each word hung in the air, weighted with hope and anxiety. Just then, her phone buzzed in her pocket. A quick glance told her it was a message from one of the parents she worked with, praising their programs. With a renewed surge of confidence, she added, "And we have community support already. Real people want to be part of this." When Mr. Calloway turned back, his expression softened slightly. "Not many people approach me with that kind of heart. It's refreshing." But before she could bask in those words, he continued, "However, I need to know if you're willing to scale quickly. This is the pivotal moment that will change everything." Jessica felt her breath hitch, the enormity of his expectation crashing down on her. Could they really do it? Would she be able to keep up, to transform her passion into something vast and impactful? "What are you willing to sacrifice?" he asked, looking directly at her. In that moment, a question gnawed at her. What was she truly willing to risk to achieve her dream? The room felt electric, and Jessica knew she would have to dig deeper than ever before to prove herself. In that overwhelming moment of clarity, she realized her desire wasn't just about her. It was for everyone who shared a similar dream. "Then, let us make it happen," she said, her voice steadier than she felt, ready to embrace the challenge head-on. But as Mr. Calloway leaned forward, the flicker in his eyes gave away that this was only the beginning of a much deeper journey, one that would test everything she believed about herself. What would rise in its wake? The tension in the room seemed to pulse in time with Jessica's heartbeat as she waited for Mr. Calloway's response. He studied her, his brow furrowed, fingers tapping rhythmically against the glass table. The reflection of the city skyline in the walls felt like a metaphor, beautiful yet daunting. "Scaling quickly is a big commitment," he finally said, breaking the silence. "It means you'll need to think beyond just the center itself. It's about creating a movement." Jessica took a moment to process his words. A movement. She defocused on the center as a safe haven, a nurturing space, but what if it could be bigger? Inspiration surged through her. What if we partnered with schools and local businesses? We could set up workshops, job training. Mr. Calloway nodded slowly, his eyes sparking with interest. That's a solid direction. Partnerships can extend your reach, but they require negotiation and strategy. Are you prepared for that? Yes, Jessica answered, but uncertainty flickered within her. Negotiation terrified her. Each confrontation felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, looking down into the unknown. I can learn. Learning is essential. He leaned forward, his eyes steady and piercing. But it's more than that. You'll need to be relentless in pursuing your vision. Every mentor you bring on board, every dollar you secure, it's all part of a larger puzzle. What he was saying made sense, yet another question gnawed at her. And if it all falls apart? She asked, an honest vulnerability creeping into her voice. What if I can't bring it all together? Mr. Calloway's expression softened. Failure is part of the game, Jessica. What matters is how you rise after it. Those moments shape you. His words struck deep, resonating with her own experiences. She had fallen so many times, yet here she was, defying the odds. If I can inspire even one child to chase their dreams, it will be worth it, she admitted, the conviction warming her chest. Michael shifted in his seat, clearly sensing the shift in the room's energy. What do you recommend we do next? He asked, directing his gaze at Mr. Calloway. Draft a proposal outlining your scaling strategy. Include more detailed budgets, community engagement plans, and outreach methods. I want to see your enthusiasm translated into clear, actionable steps. Okay, Jessica breathed, excitement mingling with apprehension. We can do that. We will do that. But just as she felt a spark of hope ignite, something bubbled in her stomach, a familiar feeling of fear creeping back. She glanced out the large window, instinctively seeking clarity in the chaos below. What if we are not enough? She murmured. The vulnerability in her voice felt shocking, but it was the truth that fought for its moment. Michael took a moment, his gaze unwavering. Together, we are enough. We've got this. You're not alone, Jess. His words wrapped around her like a shield, pouring warmth into her uncertainty. As they left the conference room, the sounds of the city slowly enveloped them again, but this time it felt different. Striding down the corridor with Michael by her side, the weight of the world on her shoulders felt a little lighter. She was driven, full of ideas and a growing sense of possibility. Yes, the road ahead loomed large and treacherous, but each step brought clarity. Each goal felt closer, and yet, a small voice inside reminded her that with every risk came sacrifices. Her child's needs, her own limitations, the looming specter of doubt. As she navigated through the bustling streets, those questions lingered, casting shadows longer than the glimmering lights around her. What would she have to give up to truly make this a reality? As they reached the curb, a chilling wind swept through, and a passing billboard caught Jessica's eye. Dream bigger, it read in bold letters, and for the first time, it felt like a personal challenge rather than a distant ideal. That thought bounced around in her mind. What did it mean to dream bigger? With a newfound resolve, Jessica looked at Michael. We've got to get started, and fast. I need to push beyond my comfort zone and bring everyone on board. But just then, her phone buzzed again, this time with a message from someone she hadn't expected to hear from, a former mentor reaching out. Would it be the connection she desperately needed? The air buzzed with promise, but how would she navigate these new waters? Would this unexpected communication shift her trajectory? Jessica squared her shoulders, ready to face whatever came next. As Jessica stepped into the brisk air, the message on her phone felt electric. She glanced at the screen. Hey, Jess. Long time no see. Can we talk? I might have some opportunities for you. Her heart raced. Could this be the opening she'd been looking for? A lifeline tossed into the turbulent sea she was navigating. But before she could reply, another thought crossed her mind. Was this connection built on genuine goodwill, or merely a fleeting afterthought? Are you okay? Michael asked, breaking into her reverie. The concern in his voice grounded her, pulling her back into the moment. Yeah, just thinking, she said, tucking her phone away. This mentorship could be exactly what we need. But too many questions swirled, dark clouds gathering in her mind. But what? Michael pressed, his brow furrowed. I don't want to come off as desperate. What if they're just humoring me? I have to approach this right. She felt her stomach twist out, coiling tightly around her resolve. Jess, he said gently, you're not asking for a handout. You're building something meaningful. Reach out. You may not realize how high you can fly if you're still looking down. His words eased the weight on her shoulders just a bit. Perhaps it was time to rise above her fears. Okay, you're right, she said, her voice firmer now. She couldn't let insecurity hold her back. Let me just think this through. I'll text them back later. They continued walking down the street, the vibrant city pulsing around them, a living backdrop to her thoughts. Jessica was filled with a sense of urgency, the kind that can only come from being on the brink of change. I'll start working on that proposal tonight, she announced, determination filling her voice. If this is going to work, I won't let any chances slip through my fingers. Michael nodded, his smile affirming her resolve. That's the spirit. We'll tackle this together. But as they turned the corner, Jessica's heart sank when she spotted a woman sitting on the sidewalk, cradling a young child. The woman's clothes were tattered, her eyes tired but fierce. A cardboard sign lay beside her, sharing her story and asking for help. Jessica felt a surge of empathy, visceral and raw. She opened her bag instinctively, digging for the cash she had left. Hey, do you need some? She called out, raising a few crumpled bills. The woman's eyes lit up, and gratitude washed over her face. Oh, thank you. I truly appreciate this. I haven't eaten in 2 days. Without even thinking, Jessica handed the woman the last of her cash, $3. Take care of yourself and your little one, Jessica said softly, making direct eye contact, and in that moment she felt a connection, a reminder of struggles that people around her faced every day. As they walked away, Michael glanced at her with an unspoken question. Are you sure that was wise? You could have used that. Maybe, Jessica replied, her voice steady. But I can't just ignore someone who is hurting. I know what it's like to be desperate. Yet, as they continued their walk, an unsettling thought nagged at her. What if her own choices came with a cost? What if those $3 had been the difference in her own ability to provide for her son? Pausing at the next corner, Jessica inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of her decision settle within her. The city buzzed around her, alive and chaotic, but in her heart, something shifted. She had given without hesitation, but would she have enough to keep moving forward? Just then, her phone buzzed again, breaking the silence. She couldn't help but wonder if it was her mentor following up or news that could change everything. With uncertainty creeping back, she glanced at Michael, still visibly concerned. What if this brings us closer to success, but at a price I didn't expect? Unseen paths began to unfurl before her, a tangled web of choices, struggles, and unexpected outcomes. Each step she took felt heavier yet filled with promise. What was she truly willing to sacrifice for her dreams? And as she looked ahead, was she prepared for the consequences that might follow? Jessica hesitated for a moment, her heart pounding as she pulled her phone from her pocket. The screen lit up again, and she felt a rush of anxiety mixed with hope. The text was from her mentor, an eager invitation to meet, suggesting they discuss her potential project over coffee. What's the news? Michael asked, peering over her shoulder. It's them, she replied, a small smile breaking through her earlier tension. They want to meet up. This might be the moment I need. See? Told you it'd be worth it, he said, nodding approvingly. His encouragement washed over her like a warm breeze. But within her, a fraying line of doubt pulled tighter. What if this opportunity was just a facade, and she was setting herself up for even more disappointment? Before she could spiral into her worries, she replied with a quick yes. To the meeting. A rush of adrenaline flowed through her. This was it. This was her chance. They resumed walking, and Jessica's mind was racing. Each step felt heavier as she navigated her excitement mixed with fear. I just hope I have enough to show them, she murmured. Jess, just be you. You're amazing at what you do, Michael reassured her. Jessica nodded but couldn't shake the feeling of inadequacy. What if I'm not enough? There are so many other talented people out there. Her voice fell into a whisper, betraying her uncertainty. Michael stopped and placed a hand on her shoulder. You have a passion that's unique. That's what they LLC. Their conversation shifted back to the proposal, but in the back of Jessica's mind, that $3 sat like an ominous cloud. The woman and child she had just helped lingered in her thoughts. Did that small act of kindness come at the wrong time? Could their struggles somehow mirror her own? She snapped back to reality when they crossed into a busy cafe. The tantalizing aroma of brewed coffee filled the air, pulling them in. They ordered and found a cozy corner table, where Jessica could gather her thoughts. As they sipped their drinks, Michael chatted about his plans, but Jessica's thoughts were elsewhere. She was stuck on the potential meeting. Would her voice be heard? Just then, a figure stepped toward them. A man in a tailored suit approached their table, a genuine smile on his face. Jessica's breath caught in her throat. It was the CEO of the firm she admired, the very figure she had aspired to mentor under. Jessica? Wow, what a surprise! I didn't expect to run into you here, he said, extending his hand. Hi. Yes, she stammered, words failing her. He laughed lightly, unfazed. I've heard great things about you. Are you here for a meeting? She felt her cheeks flush. Actually, I just received an invitation to meet about a proposal. His eyes brightened. That's fantastic. I'm excited to hear what you've been working on. Michael watched the exchange, his expression a mix of pride and amusement. As the conversation flowed, Jessica felt her confidence surge. This could be the validation she had been seeking. But still, deep down, she couldn't escape the gnawing feeling that every step forward could also lead to greater challenges. I believe you won't let any opportunity pass by, the CEO said. The sincerity in his tone left Jessica feeling both elated and terrified at the same time. When he finally left, she turned to Michael, her heart pounding. What just happened? Was that real? Michael chuckled. You've got this in the bag. But remember, the journey doesn't end here. What if they have expectations you can't meet? The weight of those words hung in the air, hovering ominously. What if she failed? With determination, she took a deep breath and pulled out her notebook. Let us work on this tonight. I'm not backing down. But no sooner had she opened it than her phone buzzed once more. As she glanced at the screen, dread crept in. It was a notification from the news app. The headline screamed about rising costs and economic struggles. Jessica felt her stomach drop. What if her struggles weren't just personal? What if the whole world was tightening its belt, pulling the rug out from under her just as she began to stand? The stakes had never felt higher. Could she still provide for her son while chasing her dreams? Determined to unravel that question, she glanced at Michael. What if I'm not ready for what's coming? As she watched the city lights sparkle outside, she feared that the price of ambition might weigh heavier than she ever imagined. Maybe the real test wasn't just about success, but about survival itself. Jessica paced anxiously, the hum of the cafe buzzing around her, but her thoughts were miles away. The risks and sacrifices loomed large in her mind like a storm cloud threatening to burst. She stared out the window at the bustling city, people moving on with their lives, oblivious to her inner turmoil. Michael's presence had become an anchor, and as he leaned across the table, encouraging her to focus on the upcoming meeting, she felt a flicker of hope. We can do this together, he said, his voice steady, calming the churning sea inside her. Remember, it's about what you're passionate about. Focus on that. Their brainstorming had started to crystallize into a vision, a tangible roadmap laid out on crumpled napkins filled with dreams of empowerment and community. But now doubts threatened to crack the glass of her resolve. What if she couldn't rally support? What if the investors saw her and Michael not as partners but as naive dreamers? What if it all fell apart? Hey, Michael snapped her back to the moment. Breathe, Jess. You've got this. Just tell your story. Your passion is your strength. As she nodded, the door swung open and in walked Mr. Calloway, the venture capitalist. Dressed impeccably and exuding confidence, he scanned the room, searching for a face he recognized. Jessica's heart sank. Would he remember her? She had only spoken to him once, and now, here he was, about to assess her every word. Are you ready? Michael's voice pierced through her spiraling thoughts. Honestly? I'm terrified, she admitted, feeling vulnerable. Fear is part of the journey. Let it fuel you. He squeezed her hand, warm and supportive. Let's grab a table in the corner. You'll do great. They nestled into a quiet booth, and her heart raced as she prepared to present. When Mr. Calloway approached, his demeanor was unexpectedly warm. Jessica. It's good to see you. I'm eager to hear what you've been building. Thank you for meeting with us, she replied, summoning her courage. We believe we can create a community center that empowers families and provides kids with what they need to thrive. As the words flowed, she felt the anxiety slip away, replaced by determination. She pitched with fervor, detailing programs for job readiness and mentorship, her voice animated as she painted the vision. Michael chimed in, supporting her points with enthusiasm. They were a team, their energies intertwining like a well-rehearsed duet, and she could see Mr. Calloway's interest peaking. And how will you measure success? He asked, leaning in, fingers steepled, scrutinizing them. Jessica took a deep breath, confidence flooding in. We'll track outcomes through community feedback and engagement levels. Success means impacting lives, not just numbers. We want genuine change. She could feel her passion radiate, and she saw a flicker of something in Mr. Calloway's eyes, a spark of connection and understanding. But just as she was warming up to share even more ideas, Michael's phone buzzed, a stark reminder of the realities they were up against. He glanced at the screen, and his face morphed into concern. I need to take this, he said, his voice strained, and he stepped outside. Anxiety gripped Jessica. Would she be left to fend for herself in the inevitable questioning? With a smile on her face, she leaned into Mr. Calloway, eager to maintain the connection. What struck me is that we're not just building a center, we're building a movement towards social change. For the first time, she felt the weight of doubt lift, just a little. She could see his interest grow as she articulated her dream in real, palpable terms. The conversation pressed forward, ebbing and flowing like a dance, each exchange drawing them closer to mutual understanding. When Michael returned, flushed and focused, she could feel the energy shift. Everything okay? She whispered, her heart racing again. Yeah, he replied, his eyes darting to hers. We need to clarify our financial goals before we proceed. The room suddenly felt charged with urgency. Would they rise to the challenge? Could they redefine what success looked like, not just for themselves, but for countless families hanging in the balance? A movement requires everyone on board, Michael said softly, shifting the momentum back. Let's show Mr. Calloway that we can scale, and leave him no choice but to believe in us. Jessica nodded, emboldened by his words. Together, they manifested their vision, a true partnership in action. As the conversation continued, Mr. Calloway leaned in. You both have the spirit. I'm keen to see what sparks from this. But keep in mind, I need to know you can handle this. Their exchange culminated in a proposal written on napkins strewn across the table, piecing together the heart of the dream that pulsed with living energy. It felt right, her message clear and bright, resonating not just in this room, but echoing outward into the community they aimed to uplift. Then we're in this together, right? Jessica asked, looking earnestly into Mr. Calloway's eyes. Absolutely. You've piqued my interest, he replied, the corner of his mouth curling upward. As they wrapped things up, Jessica felt a thrill surge through her. This was a turning point. Suddenly, the colors around her seemed more vivid. The noise of the cafe transformed into a melody filled with hope. They were not just a mother and a business executive. They were creators, architects of change, drawing on their experiences to build brighter futures. With the momentum gained, she was ready to face whatever came next. The journey wasn't clear yet, but the path stretched ahead, and Jessica stepped onto it with her heart wide open, fueled by aspiration for her children and her community. She would fight for what she dreamed of and for every child who deserved to believe in a brighter tomorrow. And just like that, with a radiant smile touching her lips, she knew one thing for certain: hope would guide her forward. This was just the beginning. If you found inspiration in this story, you need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next transformative journey. This is the moment to show your support. Make sure to hit that like button now to keep this awesome wave flowing through the algorithm. I want to hear your reactions and feelings about this ending. Comment down below. And don't wait not even one more second to share this story with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support makes a difference. We're in this together.